We are into the main show. Welcome everybody to Dronalicious.show. I am Zoe FPV, and it has been a long while since we've been on the air.
Oh wait, no, it's working now.
Some people are like, oh no, it's not working. Yeah, no, it's working now. So if you are just joining us, I have with me Angela, little A from FPV Racing Mexico. I've got Ryan Evans, Rotarius, one of the best 3D pilots in the Northwest. And we have, as always, Santiago, my bestest friend from Colombia. I think we've all been on some adventures since the last time we had a show, so I think we've got a lot to talk about. I just want to get right into it. Ryan, tell us a little bit about yourself, because you're kind of new to the show and people that might be listening.
Yeah. So first, it's actually Rotarius.
Rotarius. Oh, no.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, so I'm from Portland. Let's see here. Started flying 3D helis in about 2014. Picked up FPV a year later, kind of after that whole what's it called, the crash session video from Europe. Once that came out, sparked my interest, and yeah, I decided to try FPV. Then ever since then, I've been kind of splitting my time between FPV and and 3D helis. So, well, take it back. Splitting my time between flying FPV, 3D helis, and hosting events in the Portland area.
Yeah, I was actually really cool. I got to fly with you last year at the FPV Jamboree for a little bit, and then
that's right.
This year I went up to your Wilsonville Wednesdays, which is a local group that you host, and Angela and I just dropped in unannounced, and I gotta say that was a lot of fun. The courses that you set up are really chill. They're really nice to fly. They're like difficult enough to where like intermediate to advanced pilot's gonna have a fun time flying them, but at the same time, if you're a newbie, it's still newbie friendly enough, I think.
Right. Yeah, I always set up an alternate new pilot routes and stuff like that. But I do want to say that. So the Wilsonville Wednesday is just a that's just one of the local, or just one of the kind of informal practice sessions that we host. But that's really part of Northwest FPV. I mean, that's the name of our club, and we race. You know, we host more official races about once a month, more frequently if we can. And then there's informal practice sessions like that. Kind of hosted at different places around Portland by other organizers that are involved. There's really a team of guys doing it.
Right. I know, like Micah, isn't he part of the Northwest FPV?
Yeah, Micah's the president. I'm vice president, and then we've got other board members and event organizers involved as well.
Right on.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a cool group. I mean, it was really neat because I know Angela and I, with this trip, we went to the FPV West Coast Throwdown, and that was a lot of fun. Micah was there.
Yeah.
A few other of the Northwest FPV pilots were there, and
it was a
good group.
And Steve and I know Jeff and Steve and Clinton. Those are all some of the organizers as well.
And I know a lot of the first place and second place wins went back to California pilots. I just had to say that just because, I mean, we've got some fast pilots up here in California, and it was like neat to see them go to Oregon and throw down and kick some ass. But that being said, like, holy shit, they got some fast pilots up there. Like, there's some really good talent up in Oregon.
We don't have a lot of big names, but there's definitely a lot of guys who are getting very good.
Oh yeah, and that's the funny thing. Like, some of the fastest pilots that you don't know about are the ones that don't post a lot on social media. And they're these guys that are like hidden up in these communities, doing these local races and stuff, and getting really good. And you don't hear about them until they're like pro level good, right? But wow, I mean, like seriously, everyone in Ryan's chapter, like I know Ryan really does build his courses to make his members better. And that really does show when you show up to your local chapter and you see the way the pilots are flying. Like they're in a good space. They're knowing what they're doing. The kind of gaps, and not necessarily gaps, but the way you have the course set up, it really challenges the pilots to do low flying, high flying, power loops, dives, split S's. Like there's a lot of technical stuff that you threw into your track, which was really amazing. And
that one in particular was pretty awesome. But yeah, I always try to incorporate something, some weakness that we need to work on, and then have, some flow, some technical, some this and that. Yeah, to mix it up.
It was a great track. It definitely was.
Yeah, Angela's there for this trip.
She's been drinking coffee.
So, Angela, I was really surprised. You went on the crazy journey with me through most of this. You were basically showing up for the throwdown and staying for that weekend and heading out that week. And I somehow convinced you to change your flight and basically travel around with me in Oregon for the last couple weeks. And it was a lot of fun. Just gotta say thank you for going on that journey.
Yeah. Thank you for putting up with me.
So, from your perspective,
it was great. It was great from the start. It was great. It was filled with adventures. It was filled with great pilots showing us around. Everyone in Oregon was really, really nice. Everyone made sure that we were having fun, that we felt safe, because we were camping, so it was a little bit different. And the entire dynamics of the two events that we attended, well, the three events that we attended, because Williamsville
Wilsonville Wednesdays.
Oh shit!
Will Smith.
Damn it! Yeah, no, I can't remember it. Anyways, everyone took care of us, and that felt great. And the organizers also did a great job. And I didn't get bored at all, Zoe. There was not a single minute that it was boring. Nothing. Everything was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I mean, we had X-Class racing at the first event.
Oh, yeah.
We had freestyle competition. We had racing competition. And joining us now, I believe, is Henry.
Hey, everybody. Just got off the FPV live show. Happy to be here now.
Yeah, well, welcome to the after party.
Yeah.
I felt bad. I was wanting to do a show tonight just because we had people that were interested in doing it tonight, and then I noticed that FPV Live was going to be on at 7 o'clock. I was like, uh-oh, I've got to change time, so we got to go on later. Because I love those guys. I don't want to stomp on their show or anything like that. But yeah, so. Anyways, getting on to that, Henry, tell us a little bit about the throwdown and what you experienced.
Well, it was a lot of fun. I drove about 5.5 hours to get there. I feel like on the videos I was making of the trip, I did a little too much of just the drive up and just the drive down, and not enough flight footage. So it's probably a third of the video is just me dancing in the car to music. But it was great going up to Oregon and seeing everybody, seeing you, Zoe, since I hadn't seen you since Maker Faire, and kind of just reconvening and be like, hey, this is a fun event. Everything seemed to go well, even though we were all running on 200, which was pretty interesting. And
yeah, so the fact that they had 2 flight lines set up and they were only about 1,000 feet apart from each other at max.
Yeah.
No video problems whatsoever the entire event.
But I think we got to tell people exactly what we're talking about. The West Coast Throwdown was an event organized by Next Level RC Pro, and they're in Oregon. And where are they specifically from? I can't remember.
Roseburg, Oregon. It's
Roseburg.
Okay. Just off I-5, kind of in the middle of the state.
this is the second time they do it. Apparently, it was a lot of fun. Last year, I was not there, but that was the entire. Yeah, we were newbies.
Last year, the location was different.
Was it the same park, or was it?
No, last
different?
year it was on Elk Island, which is in Roseburg, and it's kind of interesting. They made it's literally an island. That in the summer, is accessible by, water level goes down enough, and it's accessible by car.
Okay.
And they have a whole campground and all sorts of stuff there. Pretty, big space. It's really cool for FPV.
Nice.
I was at that one last year. I couldn't make it to the throwdown this year. I was up in Seattle doing the Pro Aerial League, their first event.
Okay, I see.
Yeah,
great.
Yep.
I'm actually kind of curious. How did that event go?
That was a lot of fun. So it's like they're basically trying to make it like it's team racing, and they're trying to set it up like sports teams, like basketball teams and football teams or whatever. And their goal is to have them set up in various cities, like across the country. Right now, it's just a Washington, Oregon thing. To kind of test things out, get it working. But they're making a big deal out of it. We're racing in the big hockey arena actually.
Wow.
There's about, I think they said that there's 1,000 tickets sold. People to come watch live. Yeah.
Was it the only activity, or were there other things happening?
No, it wasn't. They had some laser tag and dodgeball and Nerf wars and a bunch of other and some like virtual reality things. But
nice.
The drone racing was the main focus.
Okay. How many pilots were there?
36. So there was six person teams.
Okay.
My team won.
Yes.
Team
Congratulations.
Congrats.
Yeah, no, it was a ton of fun. It was the whole team aspect.
Can I be on your team next year?
Something different. The whole team racing piece of it was really interesting. Basically throughout the day, we had normal race, like 2-minute races, like like kind of a normal format. And points, from each person on the team added up, to a team score. And then towards the end, we did a couple relay races, which were like 20 minutes long, and it was just continuous flying with people running out on the course with helmets and stuff.
That's so cool.
To pick up quads and it was I'd call it controlled chaos. It was extremely intense.
I think the whole team racing aspect is going to be the next big thing for FPV racing.
Yeah.
It solves so many problems. So many problems are fixed with team racing.
Yeah, it creates a few too, but it's definitely a different aspect. I think we'll probably see more of it.
The biggest thing with it though is that for like a real sport, you have to have something going on continuously. And the team racing aspect gives you that. There's something always going on. The race is constantly happening. True. And that, I honestly think, is one of the biggest problems we've had with like FPV racing and the whole spectator sport end of it. Because you'd have a run of pilots that would go for like 2 minutes. Then you'd have 2 minutes of like reset, and then you'd have 2 minutes of flying. If things are going smoothly. If they're going bad, you have 2 minutes of flying with 5 minutes of getting quads out of trees and shit, and then, resetting the line. So, like, the whole team racing aspect fixes that. It does create its own problems, too, especially with pitting. Because how do you handle pitting safely? It's really difficult.
On the relay race? Well, so so most of the day was, like I say, just a normal format. It was just discrete, rounds of racing. But yeah, the relay race, we just had let's see here, let me try to describe it. So kind of the pit area was like, it's a hockey arena, so you can think about where the teams normally sit in hockey. that was where, had people, switching props and, making sure that the quads are ready to go. And we had a runner out, actually, in the course area. And we had basically on one turn, we had a turn where you could swing wide, set your quad down. They would run out with a second quad that's already bound to your receiver or bound to your transmitter. And they would basically unplug the first one, plug in the second one, and you'd go. So there was,
This sounds amazing.
Yeah. And then the strategy was totally up to us. Like, you could switch pilots out every round, every flight, whatever you want to do. We chose to have one pilot go as long as he could. First round, we actually
secondary.
So the first round we had Cody Knudsen. He's the team captain.
That name keeps popping up, dude. Like, people have been talking about that Cody Knudsen dude. Like, he is, from what I've heard, one of the fastest pilots in Oregon.
Yeah. Oh, well, he's from Seattle area, but he's. Well, I'd say he's easily the fastest and most consistent.
And consistency plays a big role, especially in team races. Like, that changes the whole dynamic from trying to get the fastest lap to getting most consistent times, and that can be a drastically different thing, especially when you consider crashing in a team race. So I'm pretty sure it was heavily penalized, right?
No. Well, let's see here. I mean, it depended on the crash. I mean,
let's say you totaled the quad and you couldn't get back up.
Well, we had redundant. I mean, every one of us received two quads. I mean, it's a spec race. We use the thrust UAV Riot quads. So each of us had two of them. So even if you smashed one, the downtime was minimal. I mean, you have your ones ready to go, and even if it's one's totaled, the next one's just there, plug in, go, and then they bring that the smash quad back and inspect it. And if you run out of quads to fly, well, that's when we had the next pilot on the team jump in. So like I said, we were focusing on having one pilot flying as long as we could, just to minimize downtime with getting up and putting on goggles and all that stuff. So while one guy was flying, we had another guy spotting to try to keep him apprised of traffic and stuff. And that's just remind me of that when you mentioned the trying to avoid crashing, having a spotter is a huge benefit, because we've got guys of different skill levels out there, so there's constantly passing, and you're constantly having to watch out. So we had a spotter, we had another guy monitoring battery usage, so we could actually, so the pilot didn't have to actually pay attention to that. You could just focus on flying. Right. And taps on the shoulder when it's ready to land.
That's so cool. That's so cool.
Yeah, the runner and then the guy, making sure quads are ready to fly.
Yeah. So cool. I've been wanting to locally. I'm in Northern California, Humboldt County, and I've just been looking into organizing an event because these last couple of days the county fair is going on, and I always have a booth, and I'm always answering questions, putting kids in the goggles, teaching people how to fly, just exposure and getting people excited about it. And I know that there's a community of people. There's not too many people that are really in it, and the people who are all just south of me, like Humboldt 710 and Will Surfair and people like them. And I just have been thinking I need to throw some kind of spin at it when I have an event, and whether that be like a long range endurance race or something, or just even putting, I contemplated, there's 360 camera mounts for our quads, and it's just a mount and two poles. You put your GoPro on one end and a counterweight on the other, and it will give you a third-person view once you go and look at your footage. It's really cool, and it just spins on its own. And I was contemplating, I'm like, well, what if we put our FPV cameras on something like that and try to navigate a course and see who just makes it to the end? Not even how fast you do it. Who can make it?
I don't know how well that would work, but this winter, a friend of mine, Paul Nansen, I mean, we did something like that where he was driving an RC car and I was flying a Tiny Whoop behind him indoors, but both of us had, goggles on, flying, and it was, and there's only one FPV feed. It was from the Tiny Whoop. There's no camera or anything on the car. So I'm trying to follow him, and he's driving the car from the third person, view. It was pretty sweet. It works. I think it's a really, nice. It could be like a really cool.
I've seen. It was like a promotional stunt, but it was a soccer match, and they had a camera rigged up top, and it was just a small little soccer arena indoors. And all the soccer players had Fat Sharks on. And so they were all seen from the view, going around and just...
Oh yeah, that video. I totally remember that video. That was back in the heyday when Fat Shark had a bunch of goggles just to throw around for demos and stuff. And that was the biggest Fat Shark demo I've ever seen.
It was hilarious to watch.
Yeah, no, that was funny. Just seeing them trying to do it from a third-person perspective was absolutely hysterical.
Or better yet, every person has a Tiny Whoop and that they're controlling. It's like behind them. They're walking.
Well, they have a spoon that has an egg in it, right? So they have to keep that level while they're flying. No. Relay races with drones.
Our MultiGP chapter did a Christmas party last year, and after the race, it was all decorated with like Christmassy things, and then we destroyed them all. And then after the race, we had this huge party, which is like super Mexican. That's called a posada, and we had like piñatas and raffles and games and whatever. And then one of the games, because everyone was a pilot, so one of the games, it was all happening in the backyard of a house, and there was a terrace. So the host of the party, who is like a 45-year-old guy. He's one of the sweetest guys ever, and he's the dad of Guarra, who is the guy that just won the first place for freestyle at MultiGP International, whatever. And yeah, so it's that guy, and it's like an entire family dedicated to FPV.
Oh, wow, that's cool.
And so they're a lot of fun. So they had a quad on the terrace, and it was looking down at us, and then we were blindfolded. And they put balloons all over the patio. So just by looking at what was going on in the view of the quad, we had to go and find the most amount of balloons or whatever. No, and we were doing team things. So it was so much fun. There was like so much FPV involved in that party. I also won this bottle of wine during that event that I can't open.
Oh, no.
But yeah, they did an amazing event. And I think that's key. I think going back to making it fun, not only for the pilots, but for whoever is involved in the event, it has to happen. Like whatever Henry was talking about, that has to happen. Those kind of events, what ASL is doing with Make It Fair, we got to start doing those things. And we got to bring it back to where it belongs, to where it is fun. And I think that was the biggest thing that I liked most about this trip with you, Zoe. Because everything was about having fun. Every single event we went to.
Oh yeah, no, that was like the biggest thing that I was looking forward to. Was that like the throwdown was like a relaxed trip. I mean, the FPV Jamboree. I say the FPV Jamboree is quote unquote the FPV rave. Like, imagine what you will. Okay. Just imagine what you will, but it's the FPV rave.
I felt like wearing flowers on my head. And
no,
dancing.
Seriously, it was a completely otherworldly event. And then you have the FPV Throwdown, which is much more down to earth and more chill and your standard kind of FPV thing. So, like, it was really cool to see everything.
Yeah, more fun fly oriented.
Yeah. So like we had like the whole gambit. Yeah. So like, with the Throwdown, you had like the hardcore racing that people are more into. You had the freestyle flight line for the freestyle pilots who just want to chill out and fly. We had the competition. And then on Monday, we had the Eclipse, which is so cool.
Oh, yeah.
Then, yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and then basically Angela and I had to fix all of our machines mid-trip. So we were crashing on like Micah's couch and Kevin's couch, and we fixed a bunch of stuff midway through it. Then we get stuff working for Wednesday. We go to Wilsonville Wednesdays to hang out with Ryan and his crew. And then from there, we hit up the FPV Jamboree. Like, it was this whole roller coaster ride of a trip. And so I've got a lot of great footage coming from this whole thing. I can't wait to get it published. Yeah,
and
so...
it's also, like, I hadn't realized until, I think it was yesterday, Zoe, that I was thinking, I mean, I've done a lot of travels, FPV travels. I've gone all over the place. I've met a lot of people. I've traveled with a lot of people. I had never done this kind of dynamic with another girl. And that was pretty fucking unique. Like,
yeah,
I've had
cool.
a lot of guy friends in this sport, and it's been, but it was different. The entire vibe was different. It was just, I don't know. It was way better. Like way better than I expected. And
that's nice. I gotta say, it was really nice being able to travel with you, Angela.
Yeah. So there's got to be part number 2 or 3. This was part number 2, actually.
Yeah, I was gonna say that we officially, I think, traveled now for about 3-ish weeks together, all in all, you know. So Angela and I.
And you still like each other?
Yeah.
So far.
Must have been.
Oh my God! Yes. No.
No, seriously.
I like a lot. That's the thing. Like when we left, it was like, oh my God, this is ending. It wasn't like, I'm so tired now. No. It wasn't. You know, it wasn't like that. It wasn't like flicking her off. And no. It was just like.
I know there was.
Zoe, gosh.
There was talk of a drone house at one point. I'll just say that much.
Oh yeah.
But
yeah, we're gonna start pimping pilots in the house. That's what it's gonna be. It's gonna be gambling and pimping pilots. That's the drone house.
We have to get
We're gonna make a lot of money.
We have to get the Gempan like golden props to throw at people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, it's gonna be magical.
I'm kidding.
But on a serious note, though, the next trip, we're kind of already planning it out. October 13th, I will be down in Mexico for the Drone National event there, or the Multi-GP National event. Yeah.
Sweet.
Yep.
Yeah. So Santiago, you better go. You better go,
Yeah,
Santiago.
I'm wondering it.
So
Almost there.
Jack,
like-
where are you, Jack? Show your head. Jack and I will be traveling down to Mexico in October for that event. It should be a lot of fun. And I just want to say, for those that are listening right now and watching the show, thank you all. I was not expecting anyone to show up on a Friday night. I mean, come on, it's a weird time to do a show, especially this late. So thank you. I appreciate it.
Sorry, by the way, for me not
Yeah,
talking.
thanks.
I'm like on a 5-second delay from the mic.
Yeah, so Jack is like, he's on a 5-second delay from the mic. He cannot say a gosh dang thing. Like, he is completely silent. Anyway, so Angela, what was your favorite part of the trip?
Mine?
Yeah.
I think flying Ryan's track. I mean,
Yeah?
everything
Well-
else a lot of fun. I mean, you know that I'm a drone racer, so I love racing. And I try to get in touch with my freestyle side during this trip, and it worked thanks to a micro that I was flying around like there was no tomorrow. Thank you.
No,
Thank
Angela
you,
likes
Chris
them
Wilson, for letting
small.
me fly your micro. Like it was amazing. But I think that was my favorite part. Like that was the part where I was. It's really cool to travel and see what other people are doing, and track design is so important. Like FPV Racing Mexico, which is the organization that I run in Mexico with like 8 other people, tracks. Like Jimmy designs most of them, and we always give him input and whatnot. But it's his brain working. Fantastic tracks. I mean, everyone says how dull drone racing is and how boring and how strict it is, and I'm like, no. Like if you have the right track, you can be like flying and flying and flying.
I just
and
gotta
just
say,
like,
if
you're
you
tripping,
haven't
you know?
tried flying
And that's
an
how I felt.
SFPV track, then you haven't tried flying yet. Colby's tracks are
So,
like roller coaster
Are they very
rides.
technical?
Oh yes, they're like
Yep,
Colby's tracks are
Colby's
like
tracks.
power looping from like one level of a building into the upper level of the building while in one fell swoop. Like, his stuff is so technically insane that if you're able to, like,
you can
do it, you're a master pilot.
You can tell he likes simulators.
Yeah, it'd be so much fun.
And he
Like,
likes simulators.
once you actually get the hang of a track like that, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm actually able to do it. This is getting pretty fun. Because now it's a matter of, okay, how fast can I do it?
That being said, it's important for most, I mean, you know, for local groups to, you know, to pay attention to track design and, you know, and set tracks up there, not overly difficult, but, you know, have, you know, enough technical elements to keep people, you know, progressing. Otherwise, people get together and fly and I'm kind of zoning out and just fly the track, but you got to keep people on their toes in order for people to get better and better. And it's interesting that you know, you mentioned, you know, it sounds like you know, it's fairly common for like you know, one person in you know, a group or whatever to do most of the track work. That's kind of how it is up here. I'm surprised to hear that from other areas. Wonder if there's I don't know. I don't know what that means.
Yeah, I think
no, I was gonna say you always have to keep the locals.
Know how to do it.
Yeah, and I was gonna say they definitely have to keep the pilots on their toes at events. Like, you have to create a track that, one, is fun to fly. Two, a newbie should be able to pick it up and fly it relatively easy, even if they're like going above the gates, as long as there's something from the follow. Yeah,
I was gonna mention. You know, that part is really important. Keeping new pilots coming back,
comfortable with.
And if your courses are so difficult that you know they can't, you know, they can never finish a lap, you're doing something wrong. A great way to, you know, that we found to kind of best of both worlds is on all of your technical elements, have an alternate, you know, noob friendly route that, you know, is still like an interesting line or something like that. It still goes through a gate, but you know, kind of sidesteps the, you know, the technical bit without just, you know, saying fly over the gates. Something that forces people to still keep a line, but it's
exactly, that's how they ran it at the throwdown. They took out a chunk of the course and was like, okay, novice runners, don't go through this gate and this gate, just take this turn and then follow the rest of the track.
Yeah,
you don't have to do the power loop through the gate, you just keep going.
And that's
I think
kind
that's
of what
something that was a lot of fun from the throwdown. It had something for everyone. There was enough space to go wander around. Schedules were there, but they weren't very strict, and you could attend, you could wait, you could get there late. Didn't really make a difference. People weren't feeling too stressed. The freestyle competition was so much fun. It was just proper. It was magnificent. Yeah, it was amazing. It was amazing. And I think that the best part of it all is that there was no freaking internet. So everyone was just like
how did people survive?
Doing their own thing.
Yeah, exactly. It was so rough.
Oh, they survived. I mean, it was people were using their GoPros to record and things like that, but it wasn't the constant, hey, you know, I'm taking selfies for Instagram and I'm Instagramming every fucking second I'm here.
Exactly.
It was just everyone was there, like charging batteries and getting drunk and like changing pots and, you know, take a nap, or it was just easy, you know, it was easy going, it was nice. And regardless of that, the competition was great, no one was drunk. Racing was great, no one was drunk. And it was very well organized. It was laid back enough, but it was well organized enough to have it all, you know. Yeah, I do not condone drinking and flying, don't get me wrong, yada yada yada.
Yeah. Well, that was the thing. Like, I had to. I planned out my fun, quote unquote. So I was never doing anything that would be or whatever. Like the first day I got there, I was just me like setting stuff up and getting ready. So that night, like wasn't really flying, so I drank a little bit. The next day though, sober. I had a whole workshop to attend to and get going for the whole ladies in the Amelia Dronehart group. So. Most of my time for that event was focused on the Amelia Dronehart workshop that I was helping put on. I
showed up kind of
I wasn't there. I was curious to hear about that, but really haven't. What did you?
I think I gave away about $1,500 worth of equipment.
Cool.
So pretty much every lady that ended up showing up walked away with some sort of machine.
I was trying to convince my girlfriend to go.
Really?
Yeah, she wouldn't go, and I was like, well, she'll teach you how to fly or something. Go.
Or
What kind of
something.
stuff- I mean, so it was like a workshop or something. What kind of stuff did
So
you...
I had several workshops going on. The first one on Saturday was a line of sight workshop, trying to get the ladies up with just line of sight drones. It was a line of sight
important.
450 setup. Like, if you start out with the 450 setup line of sight, you can see it much easier. They're way more mellow to fly. They're not as
docile,
punchy.
yeah.
They're docile. They're good setup to learn line of sight, even though it's a little bigger. And then the next thing we worked on was tiny whoop stuff and try to get those going for the night. And then on Sunday we had FPV workshop, and that actually got kind of stomped on a little bit. So we had the FPV workshop in the morning, and then at night I was going to have this whole like road trip thing that we were going to do on Sunday, but the freestyle competition ended up running over a little bit late, so that got like stomped on. But apart from that, I actually it was really cool because I got to be hands-on with a lot of the ladies, and I found a lot of their like, yeah, that sounded horrible, but
Interpret as you will.
interpret as you will. No hanky-panky was going on for Zoe at this event. Let me just say that much.
Sure.
So
And you want to do the drone house?
yeah. Okay.
Don't go in the
So-
wing.
Pulling it back.
Jeez, y'all. Come on, y'all. Come on, y'all. Okay. So
You're being super nice.
Pending that.
I'm sorry. No, I'm kidding.
So yeah, so like, for example, Adrian, she had a problem with the control scheme of flying a drone in full acro. One of her things was every time she would try to go forward, she would just kind of keep it forward, which would cause the drone to tumble out. And it took me basically in person helping her realize that, no, you tap it forward. Just a tap forward will lean the drone forward and you maintain that position. So she's been trying to learn how to fly for a few months now, and she's got her own micro drone and everything, goggles, FPV, everything. But she was stuck on this whole thing of just tap it forward to maintain that line and it'll go forward. So basically she went from crashing every battery immediately to flying it for at least 30 seconds at a time. So, she, went from like not getting it to getting it instantly. So that was a really big deal. And I know Carol was another chick that was at the event. Her boyfriend got her into it with a little 3-inch setup that's on 3-cell. And she was trying to fly it, but it was flying in the wind. So every time she'd fly this little thing, the wind would push it. And here I'm flying with my 5-inch setups. I'm like, what are you talking about, the wind? There's no wind, so, because like the 5-inch doesn't give a crap. It's, pissed off on 5-cell. It's doing its own thing. So I talked to her boyfriend, like, hey, don't give her anything that you personally would not fly. And they went home, and she's now set up on a proper 4-cell 5-inch setup. So she's flying a proper quad now. And now that she has a proper quad, she's actually able to go a full battery pack without crashing. So it's this kind of thing, like you really do need the proper setup to get into FPV. Otherwise, you're going to have that frustration of trying to always fight the machine versus fighting just yourself. So
I've done a lot of... Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. Henry, say something.
Oh, sorry. I didn't want to interrupt you. I've done a lot of teaching people like how to fly in my area. And the way I've always done it is I start them out with, it's just a cheapo brushed quadcopter. They get the hang of like how it actually controls. And then from there, I'll put them on a bigger brushless quadcopter, like a 450 or something. Get them out in a field, get them to fly, line of sight. And once I feel like they're comfortable enough with that, then I'll get them into FPV. Once they've gotten to that point, I'll ask them if they want to keep going and do like racing. And if they do, then I'll get them on a race quad, and if they can handle it that way, FPV, like angle mode, I'm like, you're solid, get a couple packs through. But before I put them in acro, I'll put them on a simulator. And I'm like, okay, this is what's going to happen when you give it forward, or if you give it any roll. You can't just hold it. You're gonna have to make small adjustments to keep it level while you're flying.
Yeah.
And what I've done, that seems to work pretty well for people who are just starting to get into it. Is like you get to the point where they're ready for acro, and rather than just putting them on acro, I mean, yeah, they can learn on acro right off the bat. It just takes them a little longer. I feel like starting with that simulator, even though sometimes it feels a little weird translating over, it does help.
Oh yeah.
Oh, of course it does.
I mean,
Oh,
I've
it
seen
helps a
pilots that have
It helps a
learned
lot.
completely with the simulator, have practiced for months, and have picked up an actual quadcopter flying an FPV on the first battery through a course. So, like, sim practice transfers over immensely, and that's also one of the biggest things that I really encourage is people to practice on the sim. Like, the best 3D heli pilots in the world practice on sims. And it's not because it's expensive to crash, but it's because the extra time in the simulator doing stuff they would probably crash trying to do otherwise helps them get their game
Oh,
up.
it's also because of the expense to crash, but yeah,
Videos are terrifying.
it's
They are.
no, the simulator is, I mean, especially in 3D helis, is because they're doing, so many things that are, so counterintuitive, and you have to kind of train your brain to to think in every orientation all the time.
Right.
Yeah, the simulator pays for itself. Whether it's 3D helis or FPV or whatever. There's a number of free ones, but say if anybody's considering one, don't be afraid of paying money for for something like a simulator.
Yeah, I recommend every newbie to start out with a simulator. Like, if you're thinking about getting into FPV, go out there, buy Liftoff, buy Velocidrone. Like, those
Rotor
two...
Rush.
Or Rotor Rush,
Definitely the best physics, in my opinion.
Then that's the thing, is, like, people have their own opinions on the physics. Like, if you want to try 3D, definitely try out Liftoff. If you want to try, like, really good physics, you have Rotor Rush and Velocidrone. The main reason why I think
Velocidrone does have good physics. I just find the problem I ran into is that there required tuning out of the box, which I don't know. It's a sim. I don't really want to deal with that.
That's the one thing with Rotor Rush. You really don't need to tune much, and at first it feels weird, but it's like flying someone else's quad for the first time, and then after a little while it feels better. But there's something that I'd like to mention. Sorry, I got all because I'm gonna forget later if I don't say it right now.
Go for
Rotor
it.
Rush is doing the Platinum Cup with
Say that again.
esports. They're collaborating with Rotor Rush. They're doing the Platinum Cup. It's a collaboration with esports, and they're running races in a lot of countries.
Oh,
And
wow.
then they get one pilot from each country, and they take him to the UK, and then you have the opportunity to go to South Korea for the International Drone Sports Competition. And
Oh, wow. Huh.
they're doing this because I talked to Nigel Tomlinson from Rotor Rush back in December last year, when we were in South Korea, and we were discussing how we could push forward the industry, because, like we all know, it's very hard when you're starting, and it's all very expensive, and you don't understand, and it's frustrating. And if you crash something, you have to fix it, and like a video game. We were talking about that, Zoe. Like, you're a video gamer. You don't have to constantly fight your.
I had this
console,
whole thing with
computer.
a talk with some of my instructors at Cabrillo College, and one of the biggest things that came up was, in the 90s, what made skateboarding really popular again was Tony Hawk's skateboarding series of video games.
Yep.
And why that happened is because it showed people all these really cool tricks. Then the skateboarders would go out trying to replicate everything they were seeing in the video games. It pushed the sport further ahead.
Yeah.
It also got new people into the hobby because they never picked up a skateboard before. And like, what the hell is this? And just by playing the game, it gave people a basic understanding of how to skate. And it brought a lot of people into the skating hobby.
With drones, it's exactly like that. I mean, you're using the same transmitter, you're using the same FPV thing. I mean, it's exactly that.
I will say that Liftoff has, they showed me something, a preview, it's a score counter for tricks. So Liftoff is now able to, at least in development, track like your barrel rolls, your backflips, your split S's, like the different kind of tricks that you're performing with the drone. And
you know what? I almost don't like that. I think that, you know, I mean,
it ruins freestyle. It turns it into a score counting routine.
Yeah, maybe it's just it removes the motivation to invent stuff for one, or invent, you know, try different lines. Half of which is interesting with freestyle, in my opinion, is, you know, finding interesting lines, you know, and using your environment.
Well, see, that's the thing is, like, with the trick system like that, you could potentially score combinations of new flow. So let's say you do a half turn, so you're upside down, it's half barrel roll. Let's say at this point in time you do a nose in front flip, so you're back right upside up. Then you do something out like a yaw spin. You combine all that together, and only for a few seconds, you could have like an interesting point combination that would encourage people to switch up the tricks and combine different tricks together versus doing the same trick over and over again.
That would motivate me to just throttle up and kind of just wiggle my sticks around and see what kind of points I can get.
That's kind of what freestyle is in a lot of ways. I mean, some of the most, like, the cooler looking runs are just people stick bashing. Like, if you're not a technical pilot, like, freestyle runs can be lost on whoever's watching them. So
stick bashing the right way.
Yeah, there's a right way to do it. I'm not against stick bashing, but, you know, I like technical stuff.
I'm certainly not against stick bashing in the sense that, you know, sometimes it's what you do just to invent, you know, just to try different things and, you know, see what sticks on the simulator.
Yeah, that was one of the things. It was almost like an inverted Matty flip that I learned on the simulator that I'm still perfecting in the real world. And it's really hard to explain, but the way I'll just have to show you one of these days.
That's not going to translate.
but that's why I love the simulator. It allows you to try stuff that you wouldn't try in the real world, and, you know, destroying your gear that you would in the real world. But yeah, so
see,
this
that is true.
I was just gonna say,
but yes, the Platinum Cup.
Okay. Go Henry, go Angela.
No. Here's the thing. The thing that I was saying about Roto Rush, it's something that's really pushing the sport forward, and there's a lot of competitions happening there. Roto Rush did this whole thing where you can actually manage the events. Like, you can be a race organizer for races only on a simulator, you know, and you can control like the different views inside the simulator. That's not FPV, or it's not the FPV from the pilot. It's like different angles from the track and stuff like that. And it's getting really interesting, and there's cash prizes and stuff. And Platinum Cup is the first attempt to do this on a bigger scale. So go to the site, figure out if your country has one of these events happening, check out the dates or whatever. It's definitely worth trying out. And Mexico's having one as well. And we barely have any pilots registered. So if you're watching this, go freaking register. You can win a trip to the UK. You can go to South Korea in October, which is going to be fantastic. So, yep, I'm done.
Yeah, there's actually like way too much to talk about in this episode. You know, we got onto the topic of.
I was just. That's funny you mentioned that. I was literally just sitting here thinking, oh shit! I just went through that whole intro and I didn't even mention my sponsor.
So Ryan is obviously a horrible pilot since he's not mentioning any of his amazing sponsors.
I only have one at the moment. That's,
so we'll have a moment here in a moment to go over the sponsors and stuff.
No, that wasn't meant as a shameless plug.
But no, shameless plug. I'm not sponsored by Catalyst Machine Works, and I've been a fan of their frames since they started. They make high quality product at a good price, and some of their frames are actually not too bad for 3D. So yeah, any of their slammed frames are pretty good.
Not too bad. The 210's freaking awesome.
Yeah.
Mid mount.
Show me what you got, Ryan. Show me what you got.
I showed you on Wednesday. You said you were blown away. You were lying? Oh.
But that was your 3D heli. You know.
I had my quad out there too, remember?
Yeah, you're flying at line of sight.
That's true.
Although you did teach me a very valuable lesson with that, and that's I use way too much fucking throttle. Oh, I just said an F-bomb,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. But with 3D, especially when you have a proper setup, when you're doing TikToks and stuff, you don't have to go full throttle both directions. You can kind of play with it like mid-throttle on both sticks, or both ends of the stick.
It's definitely, it's all about managing your momentum.
Yeah.
Exactly. You have to keep in mind how fast you're going this way when you're giving it throttle the other way.
Yep.
And that was one of the things I loved about this trip was that for me, I was on a freestyle pilgrimage. Like every year, my style, well, not say every year, but every once in a while, my flying gets stale. You know, like I hit a wall, I don't know how to get past it, and I'm not sure exactly what that wall is. I just know my flying is not improving like it was. And like a competition or going to an event, or for example, this trip where I was going to the freestyle at the event for the throwdown and freestyle for the jamboree, I learned so much from watching the other pilots fly that I am so excited to incorporate all of that into my flying. You know, like, I'm just so excited. Like, for example, like I don't do a lot of yaw spins and stuff. I don't do anything with my yaw. And I think that's because with 3D, I'm always constantly thinking about the throttle. So I'm using the throttle up and down. Incorporating the yaw to that for my brain was just not really a big option. So a lot of the pilots that were doing cool stunts were incorporating yaw spins into their stunts. So that's something that I need to add back into my routine. Same thing goes for not going full throttle all the time, just being able to maintain the momentum, so to speak, which is something I'm realizing is much more of a 3D heli thing than I realized. I didn't realize I couldn't just go half throttle and maintain that momentum up. So, like I said, a lot of stuff I know I personally learned. I'm kind of curious. Angela, did you learn anything on our little trip?
I learned that everyone in Portland brings great coffee to camping.
Oh my God, yes. Dutch Bros for the win.
Yeah, they amazing. And Reiner, thank you for doing the coffee run every morning. That was amazing. I learned a few things that I need to try out. I tried them out at the Jamboree right before the entire trip was ending. And
like more tilt?
I have no... Like more tilt? Like tilt. It wasn't the tilt. It was the freaking lens. Once the lens was changed, I went back to the tilt. Yeah. It wasn't even the tilt because I was like, this feels weird. And no, it was just because I was flying Zone Squad.
Yeah, that's my gap shooter.
So I just changed it for one of mine, and it was way better. But what I did learn is that I want to start doing 3D. That's for sure. One of the highlights of the throwdown was Zoe doing the inverted tap on her head.
Yeah,
that was fantastic.
That was mentioned.
Oh yeah. So that footage.
How did we not mention that?
The footage of that. I'm okay. So I just have to say.
That was amazing.
The footage, so, okay, Shane was recording the run. I was also recording the run. I have not looked back through my DVR footage to look at the run yet. I have not actually had hard drive space to offload it. Tomorrow, a 4 terabyte hard drive shows up so I can finally offload all the footage from the trip. And hopefully that run has been recorded because that was by far the coolest freaking thing I've ever done with a drone.
We all just... What exactly did you?
So like, you know what perching is, right?
Yep.
So I didn't know what a perch was. Like, I didn't know a perching was a thing with a drone where you take a drone. So let's just say this is the thing right here for people watching. You perch it, so you just land on top of something for a brief moment and you take back off again. So it's kind of like you're, you know, stabilizing yourself right there for just a brief moment. What I did with my 3D setup is I went inverted, I hovered up towards my head, and I dropped it straight on my head. I perched it for half a second and then did a full throttle up off of my head. So for the 3D heli pilots out there, bring it.
And it was unplanned. That's important. She was like getting close and she's like, fuck it, I'm gonna do it. And then she did it and we were like Woo! Everyone
Now,
went crazy.
that sounds
Yeah.
stupid, and it is stupid. And it's the first and last time that I'm ever going to attempt it. And for the whole trick, I have to, because originally the whole plan was I was going to have a full face motorcycle helmet that I could wear.
Yep.
So if I do attempt something like that, there would be absolutely no chance of me hurting myself. And
Yeah, your hair getting
Like
caught.
at the jamboree.
yeah, like the jamboree.
Yeah.
Like I tried to. This is funny. At the jamboree, I did something even safer than that. I just took off
Yeah.
from my head, not even inverted, just a normal takeoff from my head, and that was
I saw
enough.
the pictures.
I felt
Yeah, that
stupid.
was
Seriously,
bad.
I went after that night. I like went back to my tent and I stared up at the stars and I had a long talk with myself. I was so hard on myself that night. I'm like, Zoe, never again. Nope. Just say no to the drone and the hair.
Man.
But
One thing with a
Yeah,
tiny
it was
whip,
funny.
5 inches.
yeah. Well, so for reference though, the 5-inch setup that I do have has blunted blades. Like if you do get hit by one of the 3D setups that I do have, and I have run it into myself once before on open skin, it will not break past your first layer of skin. The actual blade, even if it's still spinning up, thankfully is dull enough that it will not cause any severe damage. And that was actually a design choice because I like to do close proximity flying. Now, if I was flying those racecraft like 52s or whatever with those little tips, no,
Yeah. Those
no,
little
no, no,
tiny
no,
razor
no.
blade tips.
Dude, like somebody at Maker Faire literally had their eye poked out from one of those blades. And they weren't even flying. It was on someone's backpack, and they whipped it around, and the backpack poked into somebody's eye, and it caused them to go blind in that eye for the event. So that's a whole thing to be aware of. If you have really pointy props and you walk around in public, think again, please. maybe put a little sheath on your prop tip, you know, because that shit is sharp. That shit is just really sharp.
Yeah.
Or Kevlar for clothes. Yeah, no. Kevlar clothes are definitely a thing coming out now. So yeah, I think that kind of almost wraps up most of the event. Wow. That was a lot of stuff in a haphazard way to kind of explain to everybody. Thank you for being along for that ride.
So much fun.
Any sponsors that you all want to thank? Where can everybody find you?
Sorry, like I mentioned, Catalyst Machine Works does a great job supporting me. I fly their frames, but you know they also help me out in other ways. Take a look at the catalystmachineworks.com. It's not just frames at their site; they have everything, all the hottest shit. It's great site, customer service, etc. But you asked where you can find me. I'm on YouTube under Retorius.
When are we going to
on
start
Facebook.
seeing some more 3D FPV videos from you?
Soon. I've been focusing a lot on racing this year.
I know you
and
have.
Yeah, and I get my kind of freestyle. I scratch my freestyle itch with others, but no, I'll get back in it. You know.
Do I have to send you more
Dashboard, yeah.
motors and props? Would that help?
Say yeah. I mean, no, but yeah. Yeah. So Reno's, 2 weeks after that. I anticipate,
More free time.
doing more of that.
Yeah, the season thankfully is almost over, as I put it. So Henry, where can people find your amazing face?
Flyby Drone Help and giveaways on the group there. Always doing giveaways, always trying to help people out, answer questions, stuff like that. Friendly community, try to keep the grumpy, just like to cause trouble people out of the group. And then there were a couple people I wanted to thank. I wanted to thank Derek Brown, D-Rec FPV, since he ran the whole thing, him and Nathan. They did an absolutely amazing job setting up and just executing West Coast Throwdown. I wanted to mention that I got a quad working while I was there, and I'm rocking a frame right now with Zoe's props, and the frame is from oxfpv.com, and they have 2 frame designs, and they're both made out of HDPE, kind of like the raggy frames. So it's something that now I feel comfortable on starting 3D with. So thank you, Zoe, for the props.
Yeah,
and,
totally, dude.
Ox FPV has like a 30% sale going on for the Labor Day weekend. So if you want a really stupidly strong, kind of heavy frame, I'd get one of those.
Like, seriously, like, check out Henry's stuff. He's got an amazing 68mm frame out, and whole little kit he's working on. Like, I'm just so happy our paths crossed again. It was so much fun hanging out with you.
Yeah. I gotta send you one, Zoe.
Really
So, Angela, tell us, where can people find you?
Angelou.
Angelou!
Well,
That's an inside joke. A very, very inside joke.
Okay.
So little AFPV everywhere. Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. I post randomly. I promise that I'm gonna get my shit together one of these days with HD footy. In the meantime, you can check out my DVR. It's usually DVR of me racing with punk rock music. Yay! So if you enjoy that, look me up.
Yes.
Yeah, Ryan.
Internet fist bump. Come on.
Yep.
Don't let me hanging.
Seriously, seeing your videos with the offspring and all that. I did not. I did it. I did the
Oh, you did? Oh, your video doesn't have to. Okay. That's fine.
I'm a super fist bump dork.
All right.
So you can find me as Little AFPV. I do a lot of drone racing. I'm trying to get in touch with my freestyle side, and that's kind of working. It hasn't been easy, but it's working. Definitely hanging out with Zoe was one of the ways to get back into that. And you can also look for what I've been doing in Mexico with this amazing group of people, Federico, Eric, Jimmy, everyone. They're doing a great job in Mexico. You can find us as FPV Racing Mexico on Instagram, Facebook, the YouTubes. And we are organizing a bunch of races. Anyone that wants to come down to Mexico, yes, I'm looking at you, Ryan. You should definitely come and race with us.
Hey Ryan, you should just show up in Mexico and win their championships.
Yeah. Yeah. Although, since you're not a resident, you can take one of the 5 spots that we're giving out for the Latino Cup, which is going to be in November, and that's going to be pretty freaking fantastic. And
but can he marry somebody in Mexico, though, potentially, to get the prize?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. If you want to do citizenship marriages, talk to me.
Well, I have to run that by my wife.
Not me. Not me. I'm sure someone will want to marry you. But yeah, so that's where you can find me. That's what I've been doing. I'm part of the Mexican Rotor Mafia multi-GP chapter. So if you're in Mexico City and want to race, join us. We also do a bunch of other things. We do wing racing. We definitely are going to get into X Class, which Derek Brown suggested that we call Mex Class, and I like that. Yeah.
That'd be amazing. That's the best.
Yeah, so I really want to bring down the X-Class people so we can run something fun over here. I was part of their 3rd race, and I did a fantastic job at crashing to the point that I got this for
actual
Best
award.
Crash X-Class WCT
I awarded her that.
2017. Yes! So I would like to thank Zoe and Reiner for letting me crash his stuff. I mean,
yeah, seriously,
really
like a big shout out to Reiner. Like, he single-handedly built most of the machines that were in Race 3. And he put so much of his own time and energy into that event that I just, like, words cannot express my gratitude for, like, the amount of love that he's really put behind X-Class and continues to put behind X-Class. So, yeah. A huge shout out.
And something that I
he's
like to put out there
people.
for anyone listening is that if you encounter positive people in the community like Reiner that are doing things just of sheer love, don't bring them down. Be kind to people. I mean, if people out there are putting their time and money and effort, and they're running organizations and races and events, freaking be nice about it and appreciate it, because there are a lot of places where none of that is happening and people really want it. So
I'd like to take that a step further and say, you know, not just be nice, but you know, pitch in. You know, we had a chapter, you know, south of us a little bit, kind of go away this year. There was one guy doing everything, and people weren't really pitching in, and he got burnt out. So it's sad to see that go. I mean, the next nearest group was like, you know, 2-3 hours drive away. So help out. Don't take those people for granted. And
seriously,
you know.
There's a lot of people really saying, I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. It's too much, and you know, it's too much shit out there. So just have fun and help this grow, because there's not a lot of money in it yet. So just help it grow. And Reiner has been such a great person for doing that. I mean, who the hell brings all these quads to be flown by strengers?
Yeah, and he walked away with every single one of them broken. So like he showed up with 7 working X-Class rigs for other people to fly.
How is that different from flying? How is that different from flying your own stuff?
Well, that's not much different. So that was we were
with 6.
Yeah, that's right. I think he gave one away.
He gave one to Derek.
Yeah, I gave one to Derek, and then gave away a lot of frames. And that was kind of the thing. The X-Class, especially the California Special that Reiner's developed, has really helped get people into giant drone racing. And funny enough, if you build out one of those California Specials with the 700 kV motors and 80 amp B-rotor ESCs, I can guarantee you it will be one of the fastest X-Class machines on the field. Faster than Colby's rig and faster than X-Man Kevin Steller's setup.
I think we need to mention Shane here with his F80s and 6-inch props on the California Special.
Dude, seriously, the guy took 2nd place with a 6-inch prop setup. I mean, I almost lapped him, but the fact remains that he was hauling butt with a complete Frankenquad. And that was kind of the idea of the California Special, was to create a setup that the average pilot could get into without having to spend a lot of money. Like, you could go down to Home Depot, print out the parts you need, and you have everything on your workbench pretty much already to build one of these things. So, yeah, just a shout out again to Reiner for everything he's done in the whole frame design, and Shane for evolving it. And Skip
on the freestyle. Wasn't that amazing?
Yeah. He was the only one that had a rig going, and dude, his freestyle run was amazing. He like eased into it, and he went over the river, went through. Oh, dude, the dude killed it. I was so happy to present him that award for the freestyle run. Like, especially after the weekend he had, like catching stuff on fire.
Everything was going wrong for him.
Dude, seriously. And then that was the one thing that was going so right. Like, in that moment, like, it gave him a pep talk beforehand, and he pulled it in. Like, I'm super happy that he pulled it in the way he did. And, yeah, it was just all around a good event. So, yeah, on the last note, anything I want to say is just, seriously, guys, go out there, support your local groups, because realistically, it's the people that make it happen. And I noticed the last couple of years, there's been a lot of people that have been, you know, working hard at making local groups work, and it takes a lot of work, and it takes a lot of time and energy, and a lot of them have gotten worn down. So anything you can do to support your local groups, really, like, even it's time, just helping out, organizing a little bit, just taking a little bit of that organizational load off of the other people that are a part of it makes a big difference. So yeah, that's, because seriously, none of these events would have happened without the community. If it wasn't for Derek having the passion to have the throwdown, if it wasn't for Matt and Bo wanting to do the Jamboree, if it wasn't for Ryan hosting and putting together the Wilsonville Wednesdays, none of the amazing fun that Angela and I had would have happened. So realistically, it's down to the community, and it's what keeps me going. It's what keeps me passionate. So yeah, thank you.
shout out to Micah Morton from Northwest FPV. He does a great job. He loves to help people, and he's such a great guy to have. And if you're in the Oregon area, definitely check them out. They're doing a bunch of fun things, and they're really well organized. They're actually, I think, uploading right now their updated calendar for 2018 or the rest
Yeah,
of the year.
that's the really cool thing, is that he plans out these events like a year in advance. So you can start making plans to go to 2000. Not a year?
Yeah, not a year, but we're putting together the. No, we're putting together a few months, but we're putting together the our winter schedule, indoor series schedule.
Oh, I was talking about the West Coast Throwdown. Because he has that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's scheduled out for a year.
Micah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I was getting them mixed up.
And
Yeah, so
also it is totally worth mentioning the death race. That is very important because we've discussed all the formats that we saw. But okay, so after the throwdown, Zoe, Kevin, and I went to the Jamboree just to see how things were going. Like 4 or 5 days before the actual event.
Yeah.
And crazy person called Matt in his RV in the middle of freaking nowhere, alone with his dog, and this crazy thing he was building for weeks. And he kept thinking, like, how can I fuck everyone's quad? And if they don't get fucked, then I'll give them money. But it's my money, so I'm going to make sure that they don't make it. Again, no one actually did. And Zoe and I were there just looking at him like, all right, well, it doesn't sound like fun for the pilot. Like, your obstacles are this size,
oddly, it was a lot of fun.
And then you're gonna have like a thing going up and down and fire and water. And
it was completely insane, but a lot of fun.
But a lot of fun. So I love to be proven wrong. And yes, we were skeptical about the whole thing.
Oh, yeah.
Matt, you did a great job. The death race was so much fun. And Seacrest, he won that, and he was amazing. Even he had like, what did he have in his arm? He was flying like.
He was flying a 3-inch propped 4-inch version of the Vortex. So
the Vortex, yeah. There you go.
Yeah,
really
so
good.
he was.
And
Yeah,
he
he
was really
won
good.
with a stock quad, basically. That was the funny thing to me.
Yeah, that's impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah, but definitely the death race was something fun. It wasn't about speed. It was one pilot going on their own, and then it was just going super slow. It was just like a challenge. Like, I'm gonna try to not get killed by this. And I mean, if he could have had like lions going at the quads, he would have done it. Like,
Don't give him ideas, Angela. Please do not give him ideas. He will find a way to get lions and monkeys, and he will add them to the course. Because he's crazy. Matt is. I thought I met a crazy dude with crazy white boy like Skip because he's crazy awesome.
Yeah.
But like Matt, whole nother level.
Definitely.
In a good way.
Definitely. And super kind. Super kind. I mean, he made sure that we were happy the entire time. He even let us sleep in his RV one night. Amazing people like Bo and him. They seriously made sure that we had the best time, and that was such a relief.
Yeah, no, it was
to not
it was
be
good.
organizing and to just have fun.
Yeah, and we definitely had a lot of fun.
So, yeah.
And I can't wait to show all the fun and share it with everybody. This trip, I've recorded over 600 gigabytes of footage that I'll be hopefully maintaining into 3 individual episodes that will kind of catalog the entire trip. They should be hopefully coming out sometime in October. I have a new kind of tour schedule where I'll kind of do events for a month, and then the next month I'm going to be off, kind of focusing on local projects and stuff and flying. And then the next month I'll be on doing road trips and stuff. So my next on month is going to be October and then December. In the off months, I'll be teaching and stuff like that and editing. Because it's really hard to continually do everything, and I've noticed that creativity-wise, like if I don't have a little bit of break here and there doing things like traveling or even flying, if I fly all the time, creativity, like for freestyle, I start flying like shit. So I'm hoping this new schedule will allow me to produce some high-quality content and continually put out the flight videos that I love. Because realistically, I have over 3.5 terabytes of footage that I have not edited yet. So
That's a lot.
I feel like I'm probably in the top 5 pilots for the amount of unedited footage they have right now. And that's a problem. So in September, I'm going to be doing a lot of editing and a lot of teaching and only a little bit of flying. And there's also some NDA stuff that I'll be doing in September that I can't talk about regarding some stuff that I can't talk about. So, you know, there's reasons I'm staying local for September. But yeah, anyways, I just want to say thank you all for watching the show. Thank you for tuning in. This is going to be the show's like final resting place here on YouTube. You'll be able to watch the show immediately after it airs, so you can get onto it like right away. The show's going to stay live for, I believe, eternity now, so you no longer have to go on Twitch and see the shows as they fall off. This should be a good change. Also going to be changing the format a little bit, trying to go to 1-hour shows twice a week. This is going to be kind of like a format of having guests and a bunch of people for one show, and then one show is going to be more news-oriented with some builds and more techie stuff versus the whole like hanging out interview. So there's definitely going to be some format changes coming forward, and yeah. I should have any of the shows posted in advance up on YouTube so you can see which ones are coming up and when they'll air. So yeah, stay tuned for that. And again, thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Santiago. Thank you, Henry. Thank you, Angela. It's been awesome chatting with you all. And I'm glad we got a chance to do this because I really needed to debrief and kind of get all the event out of my head. So now it's out of my head and it's on the podcast and you can all listen to it and laugh at me as you will.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for having me too.
And anything you want to say, Jack?
Oh yeah, young Norm Macdonald.
I've been the miscellaneous body parts appearing in the side of the screen throughout the podcast. I don't know what anyone's been saying, so from what Zoe said, it sounds very productive. Watch your podcast. It's all the information's in your heads now. Have fun.
Yeah, so he's been sitting. I was gonna have him co-hosting, but it just did not work out well. So again, thank you all for watching. I will be tuning in next week, and yeah, till next time. It was the Droidalista Show.